So it looks like you're live. You're good to go.
I can't hear what you're saying.
You're good to go, Liz.
Did she say go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the Salem Public Library Advisory Board, and it is Wednesday, June 8th. Welcome, everyone. Let's get to the minutes. Has everybody read the minutes, or at least think they're okay? And if they do, I need a motion.
I move that we accept the minutes as they are. Have to remember to turn the mute on.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye or make a thumbs up or somehow show us. All right, the minutes have been approved. It looks like 1, 2, 3. We do have a quorum, so that's good. Was there any public comment that we need to read or have someone tell us about?
There was no public comment.
Okay, thank you, Clarissa. All right, Teen Advisory Board.
They're actually not going to be here tonight.
Okay.
They're busy with end of school year stuff.
Oh, I can understand that. Yes. All right. So Chair's report. My report is mostly that we have 3 new people who will be starting. The appointment committee met this week, and we have 3 new people. I'm not going to give their names yet because they're not officially voted on by the city council, but that's good. Steve, this is his last meeting, Steve Rosen, and we had 2 other people leave the board, so we'll have 3 new people, which is exciting, and we will welcome them at our August meeting because we don't meet in July. So, yay. That's all I've got. Oh, there was a report that I had sent out to you from the Willamette Willamette Heritage Center History Project, and you should have gotten that email, and that's just some information about where they are in the project. So that's it. Did anybody have questions about the city librarian's report? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Carol, do you have a report for us from the Friends?
Yes. That is to say, I will reiterate what Kim said in her report, which is our re-inauguration of the spring book sale was a terrific success, apart from the fact that it about killed the board, but that's, we're recovered. And in fact, we're having a one-day children's book sale on the 21st. So there's information out and about concerning that. But if you have anybody who wants kids or teen books, send them our way. We'll be there from 10 to 5:30. That's a Tuesday, the 21st.
Wonderful. I heard you made like $10,000. Is that correct?
We did. We did.
That is super. Wow.
Yeah, we're very pleased.
Wow. So that mostly goes into children's programming, right? Or where does your money go?
Kim probably can answer this as well as I can. It goes into children's programming. It goes into the Lucky Day collection.
Oh, right.
It goes into some adult programming. I don't know, what else did we have? It goes into, a little bit of it goes into staff support. But it's kind of a range of things, but yeah, it's fair to say that it's mostly children's programming, I think, and books.
Mhm.
Great. That's wonderful. Yay. Well, that was a success. And so hopefully you'll sell even more books, children's
Yeah.
books on the 21st. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So everybody spread that around in the groups you're in. Children's books. Can't get a name, and you can't have too many children's books. Right. Yeah. Easy to read. Pictures. Okay. Gretchen, do you have anything from the foundation?
Sadly, we are losing two of our board members, Gina and Amanda, who are rotating off. So that's depressing to me because they're super, but that's it primarily.
How does the foundation add new members? There's not an application or anything, correct?
Well, they pick these weird people up from the Salem, from the Library Advisory Board, but
Other than that,
Kate's in charge.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're in good hands, and I'm sure they will find some wonderful people to take the place
Yes.
of those. This is like the superest, easiest meeting ever. So we're already on discussion items. This is going to be so exciting because this is about expenses, but take it away, Kim, because how wonderful expenses.
So I attached a document to the agenda. Did everybody get a chance to review that? So basically what happened is we get budget authority from the city for our trust and agency accounts. And we needed to go back to the city this year to get more budget authority. We have the money, we just didn't have what is like kind of from the city, their amounts that we'll spend. And when we did that, we found this document from 1971, the resolution 7143, which we had not seen before or known about at the library, at least current staff. And what it said is property within said account shall not be expended, dispersed, or used except upon the approval and written order of the Salem Public Library Board pursuant to laws of the state of Oregon. This is talking about our trust and agency accounts. Well, since 1971, it was originally, that was set up as your lab controlled funds. Since then, we've been using trust and agency accounts for many different things. So we use it for our Ready to Read grant. We use it for our friends, any of the money that the friends give us. And we put these into different cost centers. So the lab has the lab controlled funds, which are still the lab controlled funds, are one cost center. And what we need is the permission to spend out of the trust and agency accounts of the other cost centers so that we can finish up our purchases for this year. We've been doing this since historically without asking for permission, since like Emily Cable has been here. And so it's been we weren't aware of this rule, this resolution. So what we'd like to do today is get first, the permission to spend out of the cost centers that are listed on the document, which do not include the lab controlled funds. Those are all lab controlled funds. We're not going to touch those. And then in August, we're going to come back with a resolution to make this a permanent thing. Does anybody have any questions about that? Mm-hmm.
Francine, go ahead, Francine.
So my question is that the document refers to the Salem Public Library Board. It doesn't say advisory board. And I tried historically to see if there was any time where the advisory word was added to the title. Do you know anything about that?
I don't. We're still like, we think that, just in speaking, we think that we need to look at the library advisory board, what are they called? They're the guiding documents and because a lot of the language is wrong. Like it says that the library board sends a report to the state library. Well, we really send that report to the state library. So those guiding rules need to be looked at.
Bylaws.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what about, I was curious about the overdue fines account. And what monies might be in that. You probably all know that it's been a long-term concern of mine how fines and replaced books are barriers to people's continuing to use the library. So can you discuss that account, for example?
So that was a totally different account than this. So these are all going to be things that are considered library gifts. So they're like grants, they're like money from the foundation, money from
Right.
friends. The library fines typically went back into the general fund. So that was like it was in the city budget. So these are kind of outside the city budget. Like this is money that does not come from the city. Does that answer that question?
Wait a minute. So the money that is in that cost center for library fines, that money is not used to relieve fines, but rather to go to the general fund?
So this is not.
Is that what you're saying?
The cost centers listed here do not include library fines.
One of them did. One of them was a cost center for that.
It's lost and damaged.
Lost what?
Lost and damaged.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So does that go to relieve individuals of that burden?
That is going to replacement costs.
Okay.
But we do have a program coming up when if we go fine free, July 1st is our goal date. We're gonna combine that with food for fees, so people will be able to, in the same way they could get fines relieved, get fees relieved. So when we go fine free, we're also going to have a week of food for fees where they can donate to the Marion Food Bank and get fees relieved. And we're going to continue that program yearly.
Well, my feeling on that one is the people who don't have the money to pay the fines don't have the money to buy food either. So in this time of, food shortages and food insecurity. So I think I would just like to make that be again on the record. So I'll say no more. Thank you.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I do believe I totally agree with that. Yes.
Steve, did you have a question?
No, what do you actually need from us, Kim? A motion
Yeah.
to
Just a motion to spend out the trust and agency accounts that are listed in the cost centers, that with the exception of the lab controlled funds. And then when we come back in August, we'll come back with an official resolution that will make it a permanent thing.
Okay. Well, I would make that motion, the motion that you referred to.
Catherine?
You're muted.
I have wording for a motion, but I don't know if we want to wait till we get to action items or not.
Why don't we just do it, because I know Steve has to go fairly soon. So unless there's objection, since we're on the topic, I actually had one more question. So as I understand it, Kim, the lab will still have as much money as they had before. This is something that's just cleaning up other funds that came out of this. How did they, I don't understand how this went on for so long and people didn't know about it. But anyway, I'm trusting that this is all good. And so Catherine, if you want, would you like to make your motion? Okay.
Yes, I move that lab grant permission to library management to spend from its library gift accounts without lab approval, accepting lab-controlled funds in cost center 339-82800, comma, which may only be spent with lab approval. Does that do it?
Sounds marvelous. Okay, so Steve, you want to second that? Since that's kind of the, okay, thank you, Steve. All right, all in favor of this motion, please indicate somehow. Is there, if there's anyone opposed, then, okay. All right, we passed that.
Thank you.
Yes. Steve, before you go, I want to play a song for you, so don't go yet. Well, let's just play it right now. Steve has said he would like music during the meetings, and since this is his last meeting, I'm going to play a song, especially, well, not especially for him, but it's kind of about libraries. So here we go. Can you hear it? All righty.
Lois,
Yes.
it was really garbled.
Oh,
but when
I'm
you
sorry.
started to lip sync, then I could understand what was being said. You should have kept
Can't
it
judge
up.
a book by looking at the cover.
Yeah.
So that's the gist of it. And so
Thank you.
Best wishes, Steve. As always, go for the joy, and hope you do something else wonderful with your life. Okay, on to this, which I know you are. Let's go on to future meetings. And I just wanted to talk a little bit more about what we want our future meetings to look like. Do we want to go to Zoom? All meetings? If there's possibility to having a hybrid, do we want to go to that? Do we want in-person meetings? I know Michelle said something about the city might dictate Zoom, but I've read in the city librarians notes that the teen advisory board is meeting in person. So if they can do it, can we do it?
So the information I have, and I want to invite Kim to jump in as well, is that the leadership team is still working on this issue, and a final decision has not been made on this. I think one good part of the process is that in the boards and liaisons meeting, feedback was provided that several boards and commissions would like to meet in person. The piece I want to share with you, the two pieces that I think are very important. One, the city is looking for consistency for how the board or commission meets. And this is primarily so that to limit confusion among folks who might want to sit in on the meeting. Tentatively, there was some discussion that if there is a specific reason to meet in person, the board or commission could do that. And the example given was a site visit. But I do think the details of the options that are available to boards and commissions are still being finalized. And I think there is hope that a board or commission could decide to meet every time in person or every time virtually, but not mix it up. In other words, one time virtual, next time in person. Again, the city leadership is hoping to avoid confusion. I do want to emphasize that the final policy on this has not been decided. So I believe that there will be some information forthcoming about that when that is concluded. Kim, did you have any other information or thoughts or perspective that you wanted to share?
No, I think that covers it. I mean, I think there's a lot of boards that would like to have, maybe have quarterly in-person meetings, but it doesn't seem like, and then do Zoom most of the time, but it doesn't seem like that's the way the city is leaning at this point.
Okay, well, so Michelle, and until further notice, we will be meeting on Zoom. Is that kind of what the city is saying?
That would be consistent with the existing policy, yes.
Okay. All right. I just think it's really hard for people to, in my opinion, to feel a part of a board that they've never, had sort of the chance to sit around and meet people together. And was Steve, truthfully, was that part of one of the reasons you didn't re-up?
Yeah, it is. It's, the way this is so impersonal, really can't, have real conversations the way you can in person. And so the quality of the interaction was a factor, not a complete factor. I have other commitments and things, but that was, it was not the experience that I hoped for because of meeting the whole time on Zoom.
Okay. But we had music.
Yes.
All right. Anybody else have thoughts? I know it's easier on Zoom, and for people like Sarah, who's still employed, I'm sure it's easy to be on Zoom and not have to get in a car or walk or take a bus or whatever somewhere. So I'm really kind of at a loss to know what to do. And we vote on a new chair in September. So I'm just going to let that person decide that. So let's push that down the road.
What do you mean that person?
What?
What do you mean that person?
The person who's the chair in September.
Yes.
I mean, they won't decide, but
Where are you going?
Somehow come to a decision about this matter.
So whoever is the chair at that time.
Yeah, was that not clear? I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was getting fearful.
Okay. Well, I am not running again. So that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Somebody else will have this to think about. Anybody else want to say anything? I mean, this is the time to put in your thoughts about this. I would like in person.
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there. If not, I'll go on Zoom, but I just think it's a better experience. Anyway.
I prefer in person too, but I do think if we wanted to diversify the board for accessibility purposes, having the Zoom option might be the way to go. I don't know who will come on board, but that's something to keep in mind.
Definitely, yeah. Well, there's also okay, I'll get you in a minute, Kev. So there's also the thing that there might be people who don't have computers and can't be on Zoom. So that's another piece. Catherine?
I prefer in person because I think it's easier to work as a team and build camaraderie among people.
I agree. I agree with that. So
I do, if I can add, I believe that Kim did a good job representing the lab's preferences at that boards and commissions liaison meeting. And I think I mentioned already that there are some other boards and commissions that really want the same thing. So I don't think leadership has necessarily invited input, but I will say that the sentiment that I'm hearing now, Kim very successfully conveyed to that group. And I do believe the feedback that was received convinced some of the leadership to take that into consideration and revisit before making a final decision. So that part of the process was successful, at least in putting more information out for them to think about.
Okay, thank you, Kim, for speaking up for our board. I
Yep,
appreciate
she did a
that.
good job.
Yay, Kim. All right, let's, unless there's anything else, I just put strategic plan on the agenda because we are finally coming close to having meetings about this. We'll have our first meeting July, I think it's July 6th. And many moons ago, or many, that's probably incorrect, many years ago, not years, months ago, we talked about the strategic plan, and we actually had some items that we wanted to include in the strategic plan. And I'm just going to urge you to kind of go, if you can, to go back and look at those, or we can have Clarissa send them out. These are just things that we thought should be included in the new strategic plan. And we will bring, the plan will come to the Library Advisory Board for a recommendation to the City Council. So you will see that. And maybe some of you have been contacted about giving input. Has anybody been contacted about input to the strategic plan? Okay. Well,
We did do
questions? What? Go ahead. Kim.
focus groups and interviews with people. And so those were groups of people from the community and other stakeholders. But if you're interested in and available for the strategic plan retreat, I can send you an invite to that. That will be July 6th, 11 to 3. So it's quite a time commitment, but if that's something you're interested, that is the kind of the clarity retreat ahead of time, and I can certainly send you an invitation. If you're on the steering committee, you'll already get an invite to that. So
okay, the strategic plan, as I understand it, sort of sets goals and for the library for the next 5 years.
yeah.
I see. All right, so it's kind of important. Go ahead, Catherine.
I just want to add that in addition to the in-person meeting that Lois just mentioned, there will be 5 other meetings over the next few months, and the rest of them are Zoom meetings. And each time after we have a meeting, we'll report back to the group and tell you what what transpired at the meeting, and have a discussion about anything coming up at the following meeting that you might want to make input into.
And are the steering committee meetings open to the public, Kim? No. Okay.
Those will be work sessions that will, but yeah, we'll share the information because we'll be there. So yes, for sure. And we'll have updates on our website too as we go along through the process.
Catherine, go ahead.
I have a question. Up on the website, it says if people want to that the public can make input, and if people want to make input, that they should email the city. But I wondered if there's a schedule. Are any of these meetings open to the public? Any of these meetings with Coragio, or like at what point would the public have input opportunities?
So they've had input opportunities with the surveys that went out. And then, so that was, we got, I don't know how many responses, over 1,000 responses for the surveys. And So that was kind of, and then during that time, we also scheduled those one-on-one meetings and focus groups. So those were also community centered interviews and focus groups to get community input. So that was the real gathering information from the community piece of the strategic plan.
And what about input to the draft plan that's going to be developed?
So that will be the steering committees, like they'll go through that and kind of create the map, basically the roadmap for the library to go forward.
So then does that mean the only public input would be at the city council meeting when it's proposed to be adopted? It seems like, well, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, basically at this point, the piece of like gathering public opinion is closed, but you know, we'll be like, we have 2 city councilors that are one will be a city councilor and one is a city councilor right now on the steering committee. So and we have library staff and we have foundation and we have friends and we have lab. So we think we have the stakeholders covered, and we also have library staff, so that we think that we can now, with that input from the community, move forward making a plan.
Well, Catherine, there would also be public input when we vote to recommend it to the city or not recommend it to the city council. So that there could be public comment there. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. If somebody wanted to comment about what they're sending on the city council. Okay. So we already did the action item. Is there anything else? Well, we're down to like 4 people. Yes, Catherine?
Did you have a bond update, or did I miss that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have a bond update. I was hoping maybe Kim would have some information about whether the items for the bond were finalized. Do you know if that was done?
You know, I'm not sure at this point.
Okay.
Oh, Michelle might know.
Yep, I have some input on that. Those items have not been finalized. At the most recent council meeting where this was discussed, council approved staff to conduct some surveys, and the information I think is just back from that. So hopefully there will be an update to council soon, but they do need to make decisions on their final list of projects so that we can go forward with the election law related requirements.
They have a meeting on Monday. Maybe they will talk about it then. Okay.
I don't remember if the bond is on the agenda for Monday.
Okay, we can look. All right. Anybody Carol? You're muted, so.
Okay, sorry. Francine's gone, but I just want to go back to what she was saying about the food for fees thing. And I'm wondering if there would be some way to set that up so that, you know, anybody who wanted to contribute to the food part of it, that could just be accumulated, so to speak, and then dispersed across the fees that need to be paid. I mean, I just thought Francine's point seemed to me to be a very good one, and that's what occurred to me. So I just thought I'd put it out there.
Yeah, I don't see a problem. You know, I used to do that at the library I was at before. So let me check and see if we can do that here. I don't see a problem with that, but yeah, that would be a really great thing to do.
And Carol, we must be on the same wavelength, because it's exactly what I've been thinking the last few minutes.
Cool.
Because I concur with Francine, and I was thinking if we could have an accumulation.
And I think we did that with Food for Fines, but I don't I don't really remember. I know I used to do it at the other library I worked at, but I can't remember what we've done here.
Yeah, I don't really remember either. It might have been fine specific, but it just seems more like it should be at like a food drive with this benefit to the community of relieving the fees for some people who can't pay them.
We used to, at Maricopa County, we would take the extra money that people gave, or the extra food, the extra forgiveness of fines, and apply that to children's cards. So that's what we used to do.
Well, once we go fine free, then hopefully there would be less of that in the first place, right?
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, if we wanted to, as the lab, we could spend some money, some of our money, and make a an account for that. Set aside some money for people who can't pay their fees.
I can look into see how much money Salem patrons owe in fees.
Okay. Well, now that we're talking about the food share, I also, you know, we have talked about putting something about the library at the where they give out food boxes and things like that. And are we sort of on our way to do that?
Yeah, we have we're just about finished with our updated brochure, which we'll have available, and probably just start with in English and Spanish, and then we'll have to get some translation services from the city for other languages, but yes, we're very close.
Okay. I also just saw something about a library somewhere in Oregon, I can't remember where it was, that they routinely have a city bus that they fill with books and take it, and food, and they take it to sites. And I thought, whoa, that is a great idea. Food and books. Read and feed is my little title there. But maybe we could go back to that at some point. Yes, maybe.
Yeah,
Here.
we are doing a lot of outreach during the summer. We are going to migrant education and giving kids opportunities to sign up for summer reading, give them books, that kind of thing. So we are doing more and more outreach as we get fully staffed, and as you know, we're opening up more after the pandemic. So all of these opportunities, we're taking advantage of as many opportunities as we can with our staffing right now. But yeah.
Okay, great. All right, anything else for the good of the board? Catherine?
I've got a few things, since we have a little time here. First, I want to give a big thank you to Sarah for a terrific audio-visual presentation on voices from Ukraine, including music and author profiles, and it was really enjoyable. And I understand that you're working with the library and Kim now on getting some relevant titles in the library.
Well, I was happy to see that the titles I recommended are already in the library.
Wow.
So they're already available. So thank you very much for ordering those. And thank you, Catherine, for the kind words.
Cool. Okay, then and then I had a couple fiscal things. I understand that the budget for the next fiscal year, the recommendation that the city manager made to the committee, the budget committee, for a 3% decrease in funding for the library stands. That's how it's going to the city council, and unfortunately, they did not increase the proposed funding for the library in general, and there are actually 0 FTEs assigned to the West Salem branch. So those people working there will have to continue to come from the main in the main library. So that's disappointing. And traditionally, normally the recommendation that comes from the budget committee, because there's so many counselors on that committee, is usually the one adopted by the city council. So, and in addition to that, there's a line in the budget that says that CCRLS's contribution to the Salem Library was going to decrease by 21% in the next fiscal year, which is bad news. And I don't know what that's about. I don't know, Kim, if you know what the reasoning behind that, the loss of those funds is.
Well, part of that was being closed, and part of the money we get is by it's how we borrow, our net loan. So that's part of that. So that's why the money decreased, but over time it will increase again.
I thought of that, but that's been true for libraries across, all the libraries in the CCRLS system. They also had diminished circulation levels.
Yeah, but compared to other libraries, we circulate a lot more stuff like in our system. So it really impacts us more if we're closed than a smaller library is closed. And we were closed for the remodel too. So we had that, and then we moved into a smaller building. So we had that that challenge too. But as we are reopening and our circulation numbers get better and we're getting more library cards made and more access, then that money will increase.
Yeah, as you're talking, I'm thinking that we had a lot of books in storage. So that, unlike other libraries in the CCRLS system, right?
Yeah.
So we were hit by COVID and the fact that so many books were in storage. So that's those two things together. I know that the Grand Run Library is now part of the CCRLS, and they don't have property taxes that are being contributed. So that might affect it a little bit. So anyway, and the other piece of the fiscal is that I've learned that the city of Kaiser is going to place on the November ballot a measure that would impose a $1 fee per household per month that would be dedicated to trying to get the volunteer library up to a public library status. And the reason I want to do that is so that would qualify for federal and state grants and funding, which makes me think that possibly fees could be increased for purposes of increasing Salem's library funding. Right now, we're all charged, I think, $8 per household. It's part of our water bill, but that's not dedicated to anything in particular. It just goes into the general fund. But apparently, institutions and businesses have a really low rate of $30 or $40 a month. And so a big business like Walmart or the Willamette University only pays $30 to $40 a month. And that's, from what I hear, really low compared to what some other places charge their businesses, or at least their large businesses. And maybe that's something to look at. I know we are going to be looking at potential funding sources when we get to into the strategic planning process a little bit more. So just a thought. Don't know if you have any thoughts about that, Kim, or anybody else. I know in a conversation once that Lois and I had with Virginia Stapleton, she actually mentioned fees as a potential area that the city could look at to increase library revenues.
I've heard that too from people.
Well, and also the creation of perhaps a library district, I think, is another thing that
for sure
that we could look at. And I really think, and this was on our list that Lap talked about, a budget enhancement, and we really, the strategic plan, in my opinion, really needs to step up and look at this, because our library is just not funded adequately. And we all know it, and we gotta figure out something to do. We're not, our library's not open on Mondays. West Salem is hardly ever open, and we tried to, Catherine went to the budget committee and tried, to make a presentation, and I thought we had gotten somewhere, but now it sounds like we didn't. We've gotten, I've given testimony to the bond committee, and there will be probably branch libraries in the bond, but we still need money for staffing and stuff like that. So I think that's one of the things as a board that we have no power really, but we can advise the city and through the strategic plan point out that this is something we've got to address. So
I have one more thing. Have we ever talked about the Dolly Parton Imagination Library as a group?
Not as a group,
No, okay.
but
I just want to give a little update on that and a suggestion maybe for future discussion, when I would actually put it on the agenda. But of course, our library has a number of early learning programs that we have right now, but the Dolly Parton Imagination Library starts kids off at birth and sends them a book every month. Every kid in the city ultimately would qualify for a book a month, and it's a very well-reviewed program with high-quality books. And there are 23 libraries that are involved in this across Oregon. And right now, there's a local group working with the Marion Polk Early Learning Hub, and they've already got enough funding to start this program in Salem in August in 2 zip codes. And that would be 97301 and 97303, both in the north and the northeast. So that's terrific. The costs, all the overhead costs and the mailing costs are covered by the Dolly Parton organization. So it comes down to just the actual book cost, which is $2.10. So we might want to talk at some point about whether this could be something that our library might get involved in. A couple of obvious things to me might be a sign-up sheet for parents to sign up their newborn kids. That would be one way we could participate. Another way might be to make it a priority issue that would then attract the interest of the foundation, since the foundation takes all its recommendations from the library. So that's a thought. So yeah, that's a potential partnership that we could develop with that organization if that's something the group wanted to do. And I just wanted to raise it initially, and perhaps we could put it on the agenda to discuss more fully at a future meeting.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, thanks, Catherine. Yeah, were you thinking that the lab could contribute to pay for the books, or just make it a priority and maybe suggest the foundation?
I wasn't thinking the lab because it's a very expensive program. There is good grant funding right now for it, and they'll be applying for potentially for state funding. I think the foundation is in a better position to be funding something like that. We could make a nominal contributions, as we do for other things, but the big pieces would be needed to be picked up by others. So we're starting out with 2 zip codes. I think that's a great way to start. Start with some low-income zip codes, and then if additional funding can be found, possibly expand it to other parts of the city.
And it would be ongoing, so it sounds like it would be pretty.
Yeah, you don't want to start it and stop it.
Yeah, right.
Ideally. Yeah, Kim?
I just heard there's talk on the state level to kind of do it as a statewide program. So that may be a possibility too. I don't know how far that is along, but I know that was a conversation happening before things kind of shut down. And so that may be a conversation that is restarted.
That would be great, but you wouldn't want it to compete with existing early learning programs that are funded by the state, right?
It wouldn't,
want-
no, that's what they wouldn't do.
They wouldn't do,
like-
okay. You don't want them to take it from one pot and put it into another, which they
Mm-mm.
sometimes do.
That wouldn't be the intention to do, like to take away from Ready to Read or anything like that.
Right.
Mhm.
Good. That's great. That's all I've got.
Okay, good things to think about. Yeah, Sarah, I was going to mention too that I loved your presentation. I brought my women's group there and we really enjoyed it. And it was kind of heartrending and in spots, especially when I forget her name, the woman who had family in Ukraine spoke, and that just must be a terrible feeling to feel kind of helpless when your family's in danger. So,
Right. Well, thank you both for coming and for the library for supporting it and buying the books too. I really appreciate that. And I'm hoping that we can keep this, in the public view, because this is going to change all of our lives going forward for many, many years.
yeah.
I was impressed by all the other countries that were coming forward with singing groups, and you have to think when you live in Europe so close by that this is really, a big deal.
Yeah.
And it was good to see that kind of comradeship showing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to affect the whole world. I mean, the closing of the ports, is going to cause famine in Africa, and we're already seeing it with inflation here. So it's, the last thing I want to do is just appease, because you can't trust Putin at all. But we have to fight against this.
And maybe we can keep in mind, and have some follow-up things at the library. So keep us, if you hear something, Sarah, maybe we can, do something. So, all right, unless there's anything else, we are adjourned till August 10th. We have a vacation, so have fun, enjoy the summer.
Yes.
You as well. Thank you.
All right.